know one of the movies in this face-off is a Superman film, but it's going up against one of the most famous Batman films of all time. Plus, out of all the many DC characters, the two that have the most famous origin stories are Batman and Superman, so it seems pretty logical to have these two go up together. So, Batman Begins is the 2005 origin film directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale as Batman, and is the first installment of the Dark Knight trilogy. And Man of Steel is the 2013 version of Superman's origin story, starring Henry Cavill as a superhero, directed by Zack Snyder, produced by Christopher Nolan, and is the first origin film for Superman in over 30 years? Yeah, over 30 years. So, now, like I said, even though it is Batman month, one of them does include a Superman film. But since the other competitor is a Batman film, I think that's more than enough to have this go on during Batman month. So, with that being said, we've got 5 rounds of this. Let's do this. Round 1, story. Now, they're both origin films, so most of it is pretty straightforward. Batman Begins focuses on a young Bruce Wayne who witnesses his parents die, who sees the trial of the man who killed him, plus the corruption and crime going on in Gotham. He grows up to be a young man who gets trained in martial arts by Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, returns back to Gotham to become Batman and defeats Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, who wants to try to destroy Gotham in order to cleanse it. So, and with Man of Steel, it's the origin story of Kal-El, aka Clark Kent, aka Superman, being sent to Earth as a young baby before Krypton is destroyed. And he is grown up in the family of the Kent family, grows up to be a drifter, a guy who's just basically a drifter, never really being much of a person of note, until General Zod comes to Earth in order to turn into New Krypton. He dons on the suit of Superman and saves Earth. So both of these origin stories are pretty well known because they're two of comics' most famous superheroes. But to be fair, while there was the Christopher Reeve Superman film that was an origin film for Superman, technically speaking, we really haven't had a Batman origin film before Batman Begins. Yes, we had the 1966 Batman film, but in that movie it was based off the TV show, so the origin and many of the characters were already well established, so there was no need for an origin film in there. And we had 4 other Batman films, but the only one that came close to origin story was the 1989 film. And while it did show the death through flashbacks, it starts off a month after Bruce Wayne has already become Batman. So I'm going to have to give this story to Batman Begins, since technically speaking, it is the first official Batman origin film. So this one goes to Batman Begins. So let's move on to the round 2. Batman. Now I'm not going to lie, if you know me or you've seen a few of these superhero related videos on my channel, you know Superman isn't one of my favorite characters. He's not even really in the top 10 superheroes of all time for me. However, my opinion and view on him has actually gotten a lot more positive over the last few years, and part of that is thanks to the film Man of Steel. Because originally I didn't really see Superman as really a complex character or really someone that has stories that you can be engaged with. But Man of Steel showed that there are actually plenty of ways to show Superman as a complex, sympathetic, even engaging character. However, the other one is goddamn Batman. He is usually my second favorite superhero of all time, and on some days I can actually argue he's my favorite. So it does sound a little biased, but Batman is freaking Batman, so I'm giving this round to Batman. So, let's go on to round 3, supporting cast. Now, the supporting cast of Batman Begins has several other people, including Commissioner Gordon. And I guess Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, even though he's a villain, he is sort of like a supporting character, I guess. But you also have Michael Caine as Alfred, the butler to Bruce Wayne. And you have Rachel, the childhood friend and love interest. And a lot of these people are, not a lot, these people are pretty good in their roles. Although, to be fair, Batman Begins isn't usually focused on the supporting cast. That focus does come in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. But we do get a fair amount of attention with them. Now, Man of Steel, you've got the people such as Perry White, the editor of the Daily Planet, played by Lauren Fishburne. You've got Lois Lane, the love interest and reporter, who is played by Amy Adams, a celebrity I have a huge crush on. I'm sorry. Anyway, and you also got the Kent parents, and since I already put Ra's al Ghul in the supporting cast category, you have General Zod, played by Michael Shannon. Now, in terms of supporting cast, I argue that both of these sets of supporting cast actually do a fairly good job. However, Batman Begins, while Christian Bale does a very good job, he takes away attention from the rest of the people, seeing as how it's a lot more of a character piece, really, to be fair. And with Man of Steel, there's a little more attention focused on the supporting cast, and they all sort of interact with Clark Kent, who is therefore fleshed out a little bit more and actually helps move the story along. So with that said, I give this round to Man of Steel. Let's move on to round 4, the effects and action. Now, Batman Begins came out in 2005, but it was mainly focused on more practical effects, and the special effects in the movie were done pretty well. And of course, you got Man of Steel. And since it's directed by Zack Snyder, you know the special effects and the action are actually going to be pretty well entertaining. You've got the spaceships, you've got the action in Metropolis, so you know those parts are going to be just as well done. However, like I said in the round with supporting cast, Batman Begins is mainly a character piece, meaning that it's really more focused on the character's thoughts, actions, behavior, psychology. And while action certainly plays a big part in Batman Begins, it's not really the main focus and doesn't really add that much substance to the movie itself. With Man of Steel, the action shows you can see during the action of the film the internal struggle within Superman, and one of the biggest points of the movie happens at the end of an action scene where Superman snaps General Zod's neck, which becomes a big focus point of the movie. Well, not really in the movie per se, since it's near the end of the movie, but it's a big focus point for fans and viewers to focus on and debate about. So, with that being said, I'm giving this round to Man of Steel. So, 2-2 tie. Let's move on to the 5th and final round of this movie, the atmosphere of the film. Gotham's dark and just run over with corruption and crime. That is the first thing you learn in this movie about Batman. I mean, oh my god, it's dark, which is faithful to the character in the comics and the setting in the comics, but it's pretty damn dark, and to be fair, it's kind of unrealistic how much corruption and crime happens in the city, plus a league of assassins trying to destroy the city in order to cleanse it. I mean, that is definitely comic book material. Now, don't get me wrong, an alien being sent to Earth before their home planet's destroyed in order to grow up as a human It is still pretty much comic book material, but it's not quite so upfront about it. Now, like I said, I've always liked Batman, partly because of the darkness and the complexity. But I just don't feel like it was done in the same way most materials are done when Christopher Nolan is behind it. Now, with Man of Steel, yeah, it is darker than most Superman movies, but there is some optimism and just a little bit of cheeriness in the film if you know where to find it. With Batman, it's always serious, always dark, which is good for a large chunk of the movie, but you need to line up a little bit. And with Man of Steel, even though it is quite darker than a lot of Superman movies, does have that optimism and that cheeriness that a lot of fans say is absent from the film. You just need to know where to look a little bit. This sounds a little bit complicated, but I think you guys can understand that I'm going to give this round and the match to Man of Steel. Now, I know this may come as a surprise since this is Batman month, but I am Dr. Cinema. I have to analyze everything in each movie as fairly as possible. And like I said, even though Batman is one of my favorite characters and Superman isn't quite up there, I just have to give this one to Man of Steel. But what do you guys think? Comment down below. Like, share, subscribe. And this is Dr. Cinema. I'll see you next time.